Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Mordian Glory video, and today guys I've got something really exciting for you. I have been given some big old leaks for the Imperial Guard Codex and I am going to share them with you now. But also you'll have all of this information if you don't have time to watch the full video. For all that information I will have it down in the description as well. So don't worry, you'll be able to copy and paste it and share it around as much as you want. That's absolutely great. One thing I would just say, if you do find this information helpful, please consider, giving the video a like or subscribing. Or if you really find it helpful, you want to support the channel, become like a channel member or Patreon supporter. It's thanks to the generous support of my channel members and my patrons I'm able to do this gig full time. I'm able to really, track down this information and tackle it and then bring it to you guys early. If you don't want a long-term commitment like that, you can always do a little super thanks in this video. I know I'm shilling out a little bit, guys, but this is my full-time gig now, so got to make that paper, boys. Anyway, without further ado, let's crack on with the video. See if we can do this in all one big take, all right? So the first thing that I'm going to say is I'm going to summarize what information I've got my hands on. I've got access to regimental doctrines, regimental orders, tank cases, psychic powers, warlord traits, relics, and then loads of other little bits, including Rogal Dawn stuff. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is, I haven't got any data sheets. I haven't got everything. I should also mention what my sources are as well for this. So this information has come to me from 3 different sources. Some of this information is based on an older version of the codex that was written between 1 year and 2 years ago. So some of it may be a little bit out of date, like when the actual codex dropped, some of these things might have tweaked or changed slightly. Some of this information is from very much the current codex is going to be coming out, and some of it is just all of the extra confirmed leaks that I'm fairly confident in that I've pulled together and put into this list. So it's come from multiple different sources, unless 3 different people who don't really know each other have decided to put me up onto a really big prank / hoax. I think you can say this is fairly reliable stuff. All right, let's dive straight into it. So the first thing to say is we've got the regimental doctrines. So some of these have been already leaked on things like Reddit, but this is the full list of regimental doctrines that I can confirm exist. So apparently you've got mech infantry, where you can disembark after moving. Parade drill, as we've already seen on Warhammer Community. Call to sacrifice, as we've already seen on Warhammer Community. Armor superiority. Sentinels count as 3 models for objectives. Other tanks count as 5. Super heavies count as 10. Blitz division, when working out units that go in strategic reserve, you can halve the power level or halve the points, and also you can deploy in the enemy's deployment zone from turn 2. So you know how normally we do strategic reserves, you can't go in any deployment zone on turn 2, but you can on like turn 3, but you can never come in on their board edge. Well, you can come in their deployment zone turn 2 with Blitz division. Bombardiers, if a sentinel can see an enemy unit and within 12 inches from an artillery piece, add +1 to hit. So that's pretty good. So the Vox and the sentinels can spot for the artillery. Heirloom weapons, everything just gets +4 inch range. That's pretty nice. Brutal strength, moving and shooting heavy weapons, no -1 to hit. First turn in combat, you get +1 strength for infantry. Grim demeanor, no negative modifiers for combat attrition. Guerrilla fighters, range attacks more than 18 inches away, give infantry and sentinels soft cover. Elite shock troops, reroll 1 hit roll per unit. Industrial efficiency, treat AP -1 AP 0. Bear man, guys, like I said, some of this information will be pre-armor of contempt, pre-orders spreading out, because like I said, it's from sort of earlier versions of the codex, when there's obviously been a few changes since then. Swift as the wind, infantry gain +1 movement, all others gain +2. Also, you can add +1 to charge rolls. Trophy hunters, attacks against monsters and vehicles gain +1 strength. Recon operators, cavalry and sentinel units get a pre-game move, but they must end further than 9 inches away from the enemy. Look at those regimental doctrines. I would say that some of them are pretty strong, some of them are kind of meh, and some of them are a bit, well, you've always got the rubbish ones, haven't you? I think that, Parade drill is a bit rubbish, and I think that also trophy hunter, getting extra buffs against monster vehicles is too specific. Unless you're coming against like Tyrannid and Idzilla, it's not great. I think the ones that stand out to me are Blitz division and mechanized infantry. They stand out as you could really build around those. I mean, potentially you could have infantry in vehicles that can come in from reserve and then disembark. That seems really nice to me. And then also things like brutal strength is pretty good. Being able to move and shoot heavy weapons no penalty is pretty nice. Elite shock troops is, that's a take all comers kind of one. Just get that free reroll. And then the infantry, swift as the wind, that really seems like, especially when we see some of the other stuff that we're going to be talking about later, that really seems like you could get a lot of movement shenanigans. One thing I would say straight away, guys, is there's lots of movement shenanigans and tricks and buffs in this army. If you like an army that can really not only be good in your movement phase, but also mess with the enemy in their movement phase, then the Guard looks pretty nice for you. And one other thing to say is that I feel like overall, many things are more of a side grade than upgrade. So you especially see that when you get to some of the psychic powers. Yes, and so, we've got like tank cases are a bit more generic now, but there's no full payload, for example. So I would say, just to sum it up, I feel like the Guard Codex is going to be good. I think it's going to be like a side grade, but I think that it's not going to be dropping in and votanning the meta. I think it's going to be dropping in and Genestealer culting or Chaos Space Marines, Sands, Creations of Biling the meta. So I think Guard players overall should be happy with the Codex. I think it's just going to be a different way to play your armies. All right, so moving on, regimental orders. You can issue orders in your command phase. Orders for infantry models are 6-inch orders. Orders for, that's for regiment orders and for Prefectus orders. That's right, there's Commissar orders now. There's a 12-inch order for tank orders now, which is great. And if an officer is in a transport in the command phase, when he disembarks, he can issue an order as if it was the command phase, which is really, really good. Again, you see how I mean? I feel like it leans into some great combos there with like mechanized infantry regiment traits, stuff like that. Just means that you're not going to miss out on your orders. So looking at the orders, first rank fire, second rank fire has changed to heavy 3. Which means you're going to get an extra shot at long range, but one less shot at close range, in comparison to what you get now. Take aim is +1 to hit and +1 AP in the shooting phase. Fixed bayonets is +1 to hit and +1 AP in the melee phase. Take cover, you get light cover. So take cover used to be a stratagem. It's now you get light cover. If you're already in light cover, you gain dense cover. That's really cool. They're bringing back orders that are like, not just affecting your turn, but really affecting your opponent's turn. That used to be called incoming back in 5th edition, that order. Move has changed to where you get +2 movement, and you can choose to advance. You don't have to. If you do advance, you will get an auto 6. So no longer will guards be like sprinting across the board up to 24 inches. The maximum you're going to go is going to be like, 14, 15 inches, depending on your regiment trait, but it's now a lot more reliable. So you can be like, I know I'm 14, 15 inches away from that objective. With move, I know I'm going to make it. It's no longer, oh, well, I might or might not make it. So kind of interesting. Suppression fire, you can target enemy infantry only. You can only target one squad at a time, so you can't start split firing with this. If you get 5 or more hits, the enemy subtracts -1 to hit from their hit rolls in their next shooting phase. So that's pretty cool. I really like that. I mean, again, you're seeing how there's these different ways you can sort of interact with the opponent's phase. It's not just about what your opponent's turn, not just your turn. Overall, I think those regimental orders had a bit of side grade. I feel like first rank and second rank fire has had a side grade. Take aim, big boost. Fixed bayonets, big boost. Take cover, obviously that replaces some of the other ones we've had, and that's a pretty good one. Move, I would say downgrade overall, but still pretty good. Suppression fire, pretty interesting. We've got tank orders, pound them into dust. This used to be a Acadian only one, now everyone gets it. When using blast weapons, you double the amount of models in the enemy unit. So for example, if you're shooting at an enemy that's got 3 models in it, when working out what your blast weapons minimum shots are going to be, you would count that as 6, which means you'd get a minimum of 3. If the enemy's got 6 models in their unit, it's going to count as 12. So I don't think it's going to matter so much for like 6 counting as 12, because most enemy units you come across are going to be like 5-man units, think of like intercessors and stuff like that. So that means, 5 men, 10 men, that's still a minimum of 3, right? But I think having smaller enemy units counting as double is going to be massive. I think that means you're going to get, basically, it should mean that whatever you shoot at, you're going to be getting a minimum of 3 shots when you talk about blast weapons, which I think is pretty good. Full throttle, add 2 inches to the movement, and if you're advanced, you count as stationary. Gunners kill on sight, reroll 1s to hit, and then you've got, that's pretty standard. Blitz them, add +1 to charge rolls. If you do make a charge roll, inflict D3 mortal wounds on a 4+. Dozer blades, add +1 to the hit roll. That might also apply to when you roll to see about those mortal wounds as well. Don't know about that one for sure though. Shock and Awe, you gain objective secured. So this used to be for Lemus and the Spearhead. Now it's an order. Pinning Fire is similar to Suppression Fire, except for if you get your 5 or more hits, the enemy subtracts 2 from all their movement, which is pretty nice. We've also got other orders. Now, these are Perfectus orders, for example. You've got forwards for the Emperor. When shooting, the unit can't sadly remain stationary, even if you normal, move, or advanced. That's pretty cool. That's actually improvement on how it is in the current codex. Duty and Honor, the unit can perform actions, even if you fell back or advanced, and shooting does not cause actions to fail. Get back in the fight. The unit can shoot or charge, but not both at the same turn it fell back. That's just a straight up upgrade. At all costs, the unit gains objective secured. If it already has objective secured, it counts as, an extra model. Show them steel, show them the contempt. You get +1 leadership, and you ignore mortal wounds on a 5+. That's pretty situational, but good if you're going into like psychic heavy armies. At the end of the day, you don't have to issue that order. It's a tool to have in the toolbox. Remain vigilant, I think, is super fucking powerful. Units cannot be set within 12 inches, and the unit can hold steady if it charged, like if you're in cover, which means you get to Overwatch on a 5+. I don't care about the 5+ Overwatch thing, whatever. You can only Overwatch with 1 unit, so it's not a big deal. But being able to deny enemies from deep striking within 12 inches is just massive, absolutely massive. All right, so overall, I think the orders, I would say, have had a slight upgrade. There's now loads more to choose from, which is great when you've got double tank orders. Orders that were regimental orders, some of them have gone into like Perfectus orders, so like Forwards to the Emperor, for example. And then you've also got some additional orders. So overall, you're looking at 12, you're looking at 18 orders, but there's no like regiment specific ones anymore. So I think overall it's probably better. Okay, you've got tank cases. I haven't got the name for the first one, but the first one is for super heavy officers, super heavy units, I should say. And you get Baneblade commanders, basically. Your Baneblade becomes like a tank commander. You get Meticulous Calibrator, ignores enemy like cover. Mechanical Pack Rat, you get Transhuman on a tank, so you can't be wounded on better than a 4+. Veteran Commander, you get to pick an extra regimental doctrine, which means that you'd have 3 regimental doctrines on that model. Knight of Piety, you get a 5% vulnerable save, and you ignore mortals on a 5+. Massive Camouflage, you get like cover from ranged attacks over 12 inches away. Titanics must be 18 inches away. Steel Commissar, your Commissar your tank becomes essentially a Commissar tank. You can issue Perfectus orders in addition to your tank orders, and you can also order Ogrim with them. Okay, so Psychic overall, I think those tank cases are pretty good. No full payload though is the big sad, but I mean overall, I think they're kind of good. But technically, we had like 12 tank cases, and now we're down to like 6. So I'd say overall, you're looking at a side grade. I'd say overall, anyway. All right, you've then got Psychic Powers. You've got Terrifying Visions. It's a Malediction. Now, all of the warp charges that I got told were warp charge 6, but again, that might just be like a default. That might change. Like I said, some of this information is a bit out of date. So basically, you select one unit within 18 inches until the start of your next command phase. They get -2 leadership. You can't use Insane Bravery on them. You can't reroll morale for them. And if you beat the leadership on a 2d6, then they fail any actions they were doing. That's kind of cool, although the actions thing, while sounding powerful, most people do take secondaries, which are actions that they do in their own turn because they don't want the enemy to counterplay them. So maybe not that great, but it's all right. It's all right. Gaze of the Emperor is a Witchfire. You're now picking an enemy unit within 12 inches, and you draw the line back to the Psyker. So rather than it being like a random length line out from the Psyker, it's now a fixed 12 inches. And the enemy unit takes a mortal wound on a 1-5, and on a 6/6 D3 mortal wounds, and any other units that line crosses gets the same effect. Psychic Barrier, straight up just a 5+ invulnerable save. Night Shroud is trans hit now. New one is Mental Shackles. Select enemy within 18 inches. They get -2 movement. So again, more ways of fucking with the enemy movement. And they also have -2 to advance and charge rolls. Psychic Maelstrom still here, but totally changed. You roll, you do your warp charge test, and then whatever you pass on, so let's say you roll 2d6 and you get like an 8. For each one of those, you then roll 8d6, and for each 5+, you do an enemy. You do a mortal wound to a maximum of 6. So it's kind of swingy. It's either going to be like a smite equivalent, or you could do like 4 mortal wounds to someone. It's kind of swingy. I don't know if I like it. I think it's kind of been changed for change's sake. I probably would have preferred if it stayed how it was, but whatever, it's fine. I'd say in terms of the psychic powers, I think Terrifying Visions had an improvement. Gaze of the Empress had, but it's still not great. Gaze of the Empress had an improvement, but it's still not great. Psychic Power used to be great, but now I think it's okay. I mean, you could double up on it with an Inquisitor, and now you got 2 sources of 5 plus visible save, I guess. Night Shroud, I think, is fucking incredible. It's absolutely amazing. Metal Shackles is pretty good for messing with the opponent. And Psychic Maelstrom, side grade, basically the same thing, just a bit different. Warlord traits, you've got if you've got an officer, they have to be a warlord. If you haven't got an officer, then you've got to take the frontline combatant warlord trait. Frontline combatant is for melee attacks. You get exploding 6s plus 1 to wound. Master Tactician, you get to redeploy 3 units and they can go to reserve. Grand Strategist, refund a CP on a 5+. That's per CP, not per stratagem. Superior Tactical Training, select one type of order the model doesn't know. It now knows them. So, for example, if you've got an officer that normally can only do regimental orders, it can now do, like, tank orders, or it can do commissar orders, which is pretty good. Old Grudges had a bit of side grade. It's still your selected enemy unit pre-game. You still have an aura bubble of, like, 6 inches, but now it's +1 to wound rather than 4 rolls to wound, so side/downgrade, I would say. Lead by example. If an officer can issue orders to its own unit, even though you normally cannot issue orders to officers. So that's kind of interesting that you can't issue officers their own orders unless you've got that warlord trait. I reckon that's going to play in with like the chain of command rule that comes in, where like you've got to take, like a Castellan as your warlord. If you've not got, if you've not got a Castellan, it can be an HQ. It can be an HQ command squad. If you've got to take, there's a Lord Solar model as well, so that's kind of cool. Moving on, we've got Relics. So you've got the Emperor's Benediction. It's a pistol. It's range 18. It fires 3 shots. It's strength 4, AP minus 1, damage 2. It ignores Lookout Sir. And if you get a wound roll of a 6, it does a mortal wound addition. Standard sort of shitty pistol weapon relic. Tactical Auto Reliquary of Tiberius is now just straight up +1 order. Death Mask of Alanius is the bearer and their units gets a 4+ vulnerable save, but you don't re-heal the wounds anymore. The Barbican's Key is like a dark matter crystal, Veil of Shadows equivalent, so you can pick up your unit in the movement phase and pop it down again. It's pretty cool. Kurov's Aquila is now a like a Vect equivalent, so you pick one enemy stratagem at the beginning of the game. It costs 1 more CP. Gatekeeper is pretty nasty, 72-inch range. It's got blast. It's got a turret weapon key word, which apparently gives it +1 to hit. I think all turret weapons get that. Its stats are heavy D3 plus 6 shots, strength 9, AP minus 3, damage 3. That's a bit of an upgrade and probably a bit of a hint to how battle cannons are going to work. Relic of Lost Cadia, it's for Cadians only, which is interesting because, maybe that's like for your Cadian shot troops only. Once per battle aura, your Cadian infantry in range get +1 weapon skill, ballistic skill, and attack the leadership. Order of the Bastion Stellaris, transhuman for the bearer and unit. Size Sigil of the Sanctioned Psyker model only. +1 power, and you can cast the power. +1, +1 power, and you can cast +1 power. Arm of Graftashenko, you get 2+ save and +1 wound. Used to be 2+ save and 2+4. Laws of Command, you can issue 1 order in the enemy turn. It's once per game. It's not all the orders. It's like a specific subset of them that you can do. There's some other bits. So apparently Hammer of the Emperor stays. It also, in addition to what it does now, you can use Officer's Leadership if you're within 6 inches of them. If you've got Voxcast, that's 12 inches of them. But you've got to pick between Hammer of the Emperor and your Regimental Doctrines. Scions are now elites, but maybe taken as troops if you hold attachment is Scions. Chain of Command is what I was talking about before. So you can only have 1 Castellan per detachment, and he must be a warlord. Unless you've got the new Lord Solar model, then they have to be a warlord. Platoons are kind of back, but they're a little bit different now. Not like 2nd and 3rd edition. There's like platoon keyword for certain units, and it's kind of like running the Dark Elder raiding force. But apparently platoons, however it works, platoons are going to allow you to take multiple troop choices in multiple units in 1 troop choice, which is kind of good. Canadian shock troops can double up in special weapons. Sniper rifles are apparently Tanith specific now, but you can take them in other elite choices in your army. Artillery are mortal wound machines, but I don't know specifically the rules for that. There's a new Lord Solo character. He's on a horse and he's a 12-inch movement. He is a Supreme Commander. There are no conscripts, but there is a White Shields datasheet. There's no veterans. There's no Commissar Yarrick. There's no special weapons. There's no spam of special weapons in Stormtrooper squads anymore. So you can take 2 special weapons in a 5-man squad, 4 special weapons in a 10-man squad, but you can never take more than 2 of the same weapon. So in a 10-man squad, you can take 2 plasma, 2 melter, and a 5-man squad, you can take 1 plasma, 1 melter, for example. You can't ever take, unless, you know, so it's like, it's kind of like if you look at the sprue for Scions, they have 1 of each special weapon. They're kind of like ad-meching them. There's no pass, there's no creed, there's no Kel. Rough Riders are confirmed to be back. The command squads are back in a big way. They at their base, they come with an officer and 4 other dudes, and you can then add on to them an officer of the fleet, ordnance, astropath, and those guys all have 1 wound. So like old school regimental advisors. You can also attach an Ogun bodyguard, and he has like the big rule, a bit like what you've seen on Traitor Guard. So the unit gets to use his toughness. Preachers and Technical Agencies and all that kind of stuff are still independent and have more wounds than, you know, more than 1 wound like they do now. And the orders still spread out to other squads. Orders still proc out to the units. And then we've got some Rogal Dawn stuff. So the Rogal Dawn comes with twin battle cannon. It can replace its twin battle cannon with an oppressor cannon and a coaxial autocannon. It comes with a castigated Gatling cannon in the hull. That can be replaced with a pulverizer cannon. This model can be equipped with 2 melter guns or 2 heavy stubbers on the top, so you can get pintle melter guns or pintle heavy stubbers. You can also give it 2 heavy bolter sponsons or 2 multi-melter sponsons. It gets armored tracks, which give you +1 save against damage 1 weapons, +1 armor save. It's got a ballistic skill 4 plus toughness 9, 2 plus save, turret weapon, special rule. The oppressor cannon is D6 plus 3 shots, strength 10, AP -3, damage 4. Blast with a 90-inch range, and it's going to cost between 250 and 300 points, depending on like what upgrade you give it, and it's going to come with 17 wounds. So that's everything for today, boys. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Like I said, this is pretty reliable stuff that we've got here, although you may find that you know, some of it has changed. Like I said, a lot of this has come from an early edition of the Codex between a year and 2 old. But yeah, like I said, I'm going to have this all in text in the description, so you can check it out down there if you don't want to listen to my dulcet tone. But obviously, if you do want to listen to my voice, you can listen to it whilst you're driving or whatever, all that kind of good stuff. Anyway, boys, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, if you have enjoyed this video, you want to support me, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, join, Patreon, all that kind of good stuff. Massive thank you to everyone that's watched the video. And of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time.